In terms of clarity, actually the law is very clear that reasonable chastisement defence only protects behaviour that is reasonable. The CPS guidance on this says that if a parent does anything which leaves anything more than transient reddening of the skin, then that's unreasonable. It's not covered by the reasonable chastisement defence, and it's therefore unlawful. So that's a very low threshold. So to be clear, it's only the mildest possible discipline that will be made criminal if the law is changed.
Okay. Do you think
And
that
that defence is... sorry, if I just may make the point, that defence is working well, because what we're not seeing is lots of parents in court for beating their kids successfully relying on the reasonable chastisement defence. That's not happening.
Okay.
And also what we're not seeing is lots of parents who just use a tap on the back of the hand being prosecuted for it. So it seems that reasonable chastisement defence actually is very clear, not a grey area at all.
This is already really dividing our audience today, as you can imagine. We've been out talking to folk. We're getting calls now. 08085 95 96. Respond, please. Tell us what you think. But one of the questions that people are asking, and maybe you can answer it, Simon, is does smacking work? That's the whole point of doing it. Does it work on the child?
Yeah, well, and a lot of people would say yes. I think what's important in this debate to remember is that surveys consistently show that about 85% of us were smacked ourselves as children. So we have first-hand evidence for ourselves of the effectiveness of smacking. And what the polls also consistently show is that something like 2/3 of people think it's sometimes necessary to smack a naughty child, and a higher percentage, something like 3/4, think that you shouldn't criminalise smacking. So what that shows you is there are some people who don't like smacking, they don't use smacking, but they don't think that other parents should be criminalised for it. And let's just consider the reality of what that would mean. If the tap on the back of the hand or the tap on the back of the legs becomes a criminal offence, that's going to wreck the lives of a lot of families, isn't it?
So let's bring in John again, and some of the comments that people were making. For instance, a smack did nobody any harm, and it doesn't mean you're a bad parent, John.
Well, I was smacked occasionally as a child, and I think I don't like the heavy hand of the law banning everything. I don't want to get the wrong idea. I'm sort of some woolly-minded liberal who just wants to ban punishing children, which is absolutely wrong. But I think, I was smacked, and no, it didn't do me any harm. But I can't tell you it did me any favours either. And I think by an adult smacking a child, I think often as a punishment, it does send out the wrong message. And you actually have to, if you're smacking a child, you need to, if it's a child running out into the road or something like that, you've actually got to explain to them why they're doing is dangerous. If you hit them, what you're doing is you're making them scared. And I hear what Simon's saying about the various surveys and so on, saying that smacking is supported and so on. But I mean, the consultation in Scotland, I've got it here in front of me now. 93% of the organisations that responded to it were actually supportive of John.
Okay, we've already had some comments from people saying, well, actually, it sends a message to the kids, and some particularly small children you can't explain things to in great detail, don't understand, this is according to some of our callers, don't understand what they're being told, but they do understand a smack. That's some people's logic. What do you say to that, John?
I think by doing that, what you're doing is you're making the child actually scared of you. You as an adult should be in a position of responsibility and setting an example for them. I would hate to think how my kids would react if I actually smack them. I think they would look at me in a very different way. I don't think it would actually change their behaviour. I've had much more, well, I can't compare it to smacking because I've never smacked them, but I know that I get a much better response from them from sitting down and actually chatting and talking through and explaining why behaviour is wrong.
So there's a powerful argument, Simon, that John doesn't smack them because he fears that if he did, they'd think he was, well, I suppose, some kind of monster.
Well, he just described the situation there where he talked about sitting down and explaining the issue to his children. Well, of course, let's not insult parents who do smack by suggesting that they don't sit down and talk to their children. And I mean, John's not saying that, but let's be careful to say that a tap on the back of the legs or on the back of the hand is just one of the things that good parents do. They love their children, they hug their children, they teach their children, they explain things to their children, they protect their children, they do all sorts of things with them. But, the fact is that for for most parents, that a gentle smack on the back of the hand or whatever is something that they occasionally judge that it's right to do for their own children.
Thank you both for joining us. That's Simon Calvert, who is from an organisation called Be Reasonable. They're pro-smacking. And John Adams, blogger, father, stay-at-home dad, who definitely says no, he doesn't agree with it at all.